This is the EGC 20K Age of Empires 4 tournament. The semi-finals are on, only 4 generals still standing, and a war rages on! Welcome to the Theater of Agony! My name's Anuki, and this is how I choose to spend my personal time. You're joining us for the third match of one part of this endearing semi-finals. We have a classic choice of civilizations this time round. Located in the southern regions in the cold blue, they are the ringmaster of the English. It's the Viper! If we take a peek to the north, we will encounter the English old rival, the French. Their chief executive operator is RecoN. Oh, isn't it embarrassing when you turn up to battle waving the same statue? What are they like? Well, this beautiful couple are like totally 1 for 1. As a gentle reminder, in the first match, Viper claimed victory as Mongols. They defeated RecoN as the Rus. RecoN started as the aggressor, almost forced to be the aggressor, as they went for a defensive landmark, and Viper didn't attack. Instead, they played out a longer economic game, staving off multiple offenses from RecoN. It was a great game. In the second match, the Mongols continued their victory, but both the Viper and the Rus did not. RecoN claimed that victory, they took the river and hoarded the fish for themselves, then hit Viper with a big mechanized attack. Now we find ourselves on the dry Arabia zone, the most standard of standard maps, the blandest of bland maps, an empty canvas, for which our commanders will competitively paint upon with the souls of their subjects, France and England. It's a classic battle. The French have their royal knights. Adjectives to describe them are armored, heavy, expensive, resilient, overestimated. The English have longbows, long and bow-like. These are 2 feudal age units which alter the strategies when played in a match against each other. Typically France wants to rush with knights, typically England wants to rush with longbows, but you can't both do that, surely. Longbows don't do well against knights because of the armor, so England wants to hide in its base and defend, grabbing some spears to protect the longbows until they feel comfortable moving out. It might sound textbook, sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, sometimes we are lucky and we get to explore some different flavors of the same approach. Sometimes it's a textbook with just a few adjustments made yearly and sold for hundreds of dollars. The Council Hall and School of Cavalry are underway. Because we don't get to see it too much, let's talk a little bit about the Abbey of Kings, England's other landmark. It heals in a short radius around it. If units are out of combat, it's 2 health every 1.5 seconds, which is kind of an odd number. There's lots of reasons why the Council Hall is always chosen, but then we'd just be talking about the Council Hall again, and I really want to just talk about the Abbey of Kings. Personally, I'd like to see something more creative done with it. Something honestly has to change with it. I can see that this early on. It's very obvious. I'd like landmarks that aren't just passives, that are a little bit more involved. So why not make the Abbey of Kings like an upgradable landmark? The more gold you put in, the more you donate, the larger the radius of the healing out of combat to a certain amount. That would mean you have to figure out where you want to put it early on, and perhaps later on you have a decent defensive landmark. Weak early on, stronger later on with investments, that kind of idea. Or what if you could put villagers into the Abbey of Kings and then prey, extending the range of healing based on the amount of villagers that are inside. And you could also make that generate a small amount of gold based on the villagers inside. Economy is, of course, an issue with England because they don't get economic bonuses until the Castle Age. Let's return to the match at hand, though. Post your ideas somewhere. I'd love to hear them. RecoN is putting up a wooden wall. Now, what I'd usually say is, this is great for keeping knights out or funneling them, controlling their movement, but RecoN is the one with the knights. They're France. So unless this wall is a part of a larger wall, they aren't going to be problematic for Viper's longbows. This wall here, it's nice that it stops an entrance. Great if Viper is going staples, less great if not. Infantry don't usually like to take the long route. But what makes these walls problematic is that longbows will fire over them. Viper also walling up, which again makes sense because we are expecting Royal Knights out, so closing the gaps will be a huge hindrance to them. But as for RecoN, can't build those walls too close to structures where villagers might loiter, because these longbows will just pick them off from over the wall. I don't know, maybe the objective of this wall will become clearer later on. I'd love to see what this becomes, and as always, being wrong is exciting. Discovering new things is a fantastic experience in RTS. Viper will want to get a hold of the bonfire research early on so they can keep their units nice and healthy. And again, usually they would be defending, so the bonfire upgrade is fantastic because, you know, things engage you, you lose a bit of health, and then you can recover that health. But if they're going to be attacking, there's not always the opportunity to sit around and rest at a bonfire to heal. You're going to be chased down, and again, when there's Royal Knights, you're definitely going to be chased down. Oh, and the Viper saw that wall being built with this scout. Now, they might see that wall and go, you've just spent wood on a wall that doesn't impede me. This gives me an opening. And I guess that would be ironic. The very thing that was supposed to protect you ends up starting the attack that ends you. The Viper is moving out, but before we follow their adventure, they've walled up the western side of their new frontier. We know that RecoN can now only come from the east. It's still a wide angle to approach from, but you can't just ride through Viper's base and come out to the other side. You'd have to turn around, and it's this predictability which will lead to the loss of a few extra cavalry. That was too many arrows for one wolf. I think this scout might even find the trap that awaits them. Viper's being distracted. They're in chase mode. What's happening in the cul-de-sac? Oh, I do like a pun. Blacksmith is happening. RecoN will likely want to get the +1 ranged armor upgrade started. An invaluable upgrade when faced with so many longbows. The scout coming through the woods, already seeing that element of predictability as longbows are able to move to intercept. Scout takes a lot of shots, but they will escape moderately wounded. Viper starting to collect some deer. This should help squeeze out a few more units quicker. And RecoN is galloping down with 3 knights. And there's a scout here too. And I think, yeah, they didn't know about this wall until now. That will be super disappointing because as they ride around to find an opening, they might run into these longbow. They'll still get the element of surprise, but not quite the one they were looking for. RecoN is revealed just as Viper was about to advance. They don't know the exact numbers RecoN has, but they will have a general idea. It can't be that many. This is more like it, though. Big wall for RecoN. That's going to stop anyone from... Hang on. Being so condescending, you know it stops people going through. It's a wall. You're intelligent people. This does seem more useful now that we know Viper wants to advance, but I think Viper is just going to walk in a straight line. There's this massive diameter of exposure that is asking to be penetrated. There is a tower at the top of the screen. There is a tower at the goal, but is that enough? I'm liking both commanders' camps at the moment. Just think what Viper's finished product will look like. Walls in the west, towers to the east, barbed wire dragons in the north. But more than anything, it's nice to see how players will overcome these defensive obstacles. Well, that's quite the army Viper has, chasing after the very few knights from earlier on. Something else which is advantageous, knowing that your opponent is only going to come from the east of your base means you can position your scouts to the east. You get that plentiful of warning. You don't need vision outside of the wall to the west. You know they're going to come from the east. That's what Viper has done. And a scout again in this stealth forest. RecoN about to find out what is giving away their position. Viper sadly slow on their feet. They do get a good volley off and witness how armored those knights really are. It takes a lot of shots to down a knight. Fortunately for Viper though, they have plenty of longbows and RecoN has very few knights. Look at that spearman, way off in front of the group, shouting back to the archers the longitude and latitude coordinates to fire upon. And pay attention to this scout on the right. Getting in a nice snug stealth forest to observe from. There's also a tower just behind there. Viper wants that network of castles bonus to increase the attack speed of their longbows, as well as a safe spot back to retreat to. Actually gonna move that tower into the stealth forest. That is gonna be a glorious piece of work, and we're getting a battering ram. We are getting so many things happening at the same time that this could be quite devastating for RecoN. Being punched hurts. Being punched 3 times in one go hurty more. It's one thing to expect a bunch of longbows. That's what RecoN knows. But they will then discover there's a tower and a battering space jam. Are you ready for this? RecoN has assembled Royal Knights. How brave are they feeling? There's so many longbows, all of them buffed. That's already threatening, but there's also spearmen, and we know from watching Deadliest Warrior that the edge goes to the Viper. Regardless, RecoN storms on in to try and burn that battering ram down to the ground. The outpost is missing its entire middle section. And the battering ram, it's hurt badly, but lacks damage states. Oh my god, I'm just noticing this now. The second battering ram is in progress. RecoN getting another outpost up as well. I think we're out of spearmen now. There doesn't seem to be enough cavalry to deal with all of the longbows, though. Oh, there is still a couple of spears at the back. They grab another knight whilst the Viper pushes to the next objective, that second outpost. RecoN's starting to get their own archers. Oh, the white flag has been raised. France has been defeated. The Viper claims a second victory, the quickest one so far in this best of 5. We won't idle around, but do check the video description for more information about future EGC and Ironcast ongoings. Before you move on, I'm running low on battery, so I'm going. I'm already there. I'm on the next game. Come join me. I'm Anuki. Go. Go now.